Yeah, hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin and Cardano. We can see prices going up again, but everything still within the current scenario. Nothing has changed to my previous scenario, so it's all going pretty much still in line with that scenario. I just need to emphasize that because here on the private Telegram group, people getting nervous, what happens if we go up? But what happens if we go up? Well, then we just go up. For that purpose, various buy orders did trigger in the last few weeks at lower levels to prepare us for a potential move up, right? That is why, for channel members, obviously, who saw my buy orders throughout the last few weeks, and who've been, depending on how long you've been with me on the channel, you've seen that I did start to dollar cost average in at lower prices into various altcoins. Not all buy orders did trigger, but a lot actually did. And at some point, I just need to actually just collect and summarize how many buy orders actually did trigger in total. It was quite a bit. So that prepared us for the current move up. But I don't think my scenario is changing at the moment. I still stick with my primary expectation, and I'm getting to that in a minute. So my view here again is for Bitcoin is the daily chart that we have made a wave one here. Ooh, no, didn't want to do that. That we've made a wave one here back in 2021. And since then, since April 21, since we've seen that wave one top here, where you can also see that wave five, the small wave five, larger wave one, since then we've actually been in a correction. So wave A to the downside into July, wave B to the upside, and currently a wave C. Of course, other scenarios are possible because basically anything can always happen. You can only understand this space by looking at probabilities, looking at key support and resistance levels. And so far, I think the scenario that we talked about on this way down has played out very, very well. And now, yes, we are in a strong move up. But what I also need to tell you is that this is still within this yellow target area that we talked about. So what is this target area? Again, for everybody who's new on the channel as well, we have defined here the Fibonacci levels, of that beginning of the wave 3 to the downside here. You can see that wave 3 here in the brackets. So starting from the wave 3 beginning to the wave 3 finish, and the retracement levels of these you can see here, and they define the yellow target area here. We've been talking about these levels since we've come down here to 33K pretty much. And we have come into the minimum. We've seen the minimum at 38.8. We've come to the ideal target level, and that was here at 43.3. I would have expected a stronger reaction. Now we didn't see that. We saw a reaction down here at 41. We saw a reaction here at 42.8, 42.9, where the 50-day moving average is, and now we're just moving through here. But bear in mind, first of all, the daily candle hasn't closed yet. That's one thing. So it's not really confirmed. The daily candle close is meaningful as well. But I think it has fairly good chances for a daily candle close above the 43.3. But everything still, all the way up to around 46.5K, that 0.5 fib level is still possible in this wave 4 scenario. And I did show you in the previous video other scenarios, but all of them, and that's very important, all of them are fairly corrective. So all of them would not are not aligned with a perspective of Bitcoin from here going to new all-time highs. I think the indicators would not support this. So I still stick with my primary expectation here that the price can go up a little bit more, and we can see that actually on the daily RSI as well. Did mention in the previous video that we were not on the daily, not yet overbought. We're getting there though, we're getting there. And we are currently here on the daily RSI, the momentum indicator sitting at 64, 65. So at some point it will run out of steam here. There is more potential, for further increases. And I think certainly now, as we've broken above the 0.382 fib level at 43.3, we can see here the 46.5. But at the latest here, the bears need to push the price down. Otherwise, this scenario, it's not really invalidated. It will not get invalidated until we really get all the way up here to around 54K, unfortunately. But this gets far less likely. And if we break above the 46.5, I just want to be very clear. If we break above that, I would start with a different scenario where we can move higher, but then basically in a 3-wave move, that would be a wave B, before we then come down. Yeah, it would just extend everything a little bit. But again, I don't want to confuse people. So at the moment I just have to, because it's for me the most likely scenario. I'll stick with my primary expectation that we move all the way up here to 46.5 and then move down. Yeah, obviously we didn't really stop here at the 43.3. Before that, when we were down here and even started to go down here a little bit, I did stick to my primary view that we were going higher here and see the ideal level of 43.3k. Now we did go through that, so now what I have to expect is the 46.5. Yeah, but overall, looking at the higher level wave count and everything, and the higher level structure, what we're doing here, in my opinion, is still very much corrective, and that we are going to see that final sell-off. So that hasn't changed. I will let you know if that has changed at all. I'm not going to take any profits at the moment. For me, these, to be honest, also for many altcoins, the current levels are very attractive still for buying. Yeah, I just want to communicate that, because a lot of people also on the private Telegram group, they talk about selling now. But think about it. Do you really want to sell now? What happens if the price is going to go up further? What do you do? Do you buy back higher? So I'm not doing that. You know, I'm not interested in these kinds of profits here. The risk is just too high, even though my primary expectation is we go down. But the thing is, you need to understand we have currently prices that could, if held long enough, and if the large waves are being traded, and there's no financial advice, everybody needs to do their own thing, please understand that. But these are prices that are historically still fairly good, and in the next larger wave up, if we really get to the new all-time highs here at some point after another correction, in my view, you know, you can see prices of 100k, 150k, maybe even a 200k Bitcoin. That is nothing that is hyped or anything. And if you talk about that for Bitcoin, you can talk about a much more of a percentage increase for altcoins. Yeah. So look, at the moment, all according to plan. There is no, people need to be aware of alternative scenarios. That's why I mentioned it in the previous video. But overall, it doesn't really make sense to discuss them in detail until one scenario is becoming more likely than this one. Yeah, of course, different analysts have different views. You will see also, if you watch 10 TA videos on YouTube, you get different results. A lot of people already talking about, right, the low was in and we're going to go to all-time highs now. I don't think it was. Yeah, I don't think it was. And I think we're going to come down once more. And there are various ways how we could do that. And that's just reality, you know, it's all about probabilities. It's all about probabilities. But my personal strategy is I want to be prepared for various scenarios. And that is why for the channel members, I did communicate over the last few weeks. I don't actually know when I started with that, but I my own buy orders, when they were triggered, dollar cost averaging in at very attractive and prices. Oftentimes we hit the low, you know, one buy order, the last one was very close to the low, which of course makes everybody happy who's checking the portfolio now. But on the other hand, this is more geared towards a longer term view, so that in the next larger wave up, profits can be taken. So it's about taking these waves, you know, selling close to here, buying here, selling close to here, buying here, selling somewhere up here. You know, this is what makes sense to me. Not trying to catch every small wave. You know, it would drive you mad. It's mentally very, very challenging. And unless you're really a full-time trader, you know, or someone who's really spending a lot of time in front of the charts, catching every small wave is just not going to work. It's people get burned, you know, and then selling, taking profits here, price going higher, buy back higher. No, you know, we've all been there in the past. It doesn't really work. But again, everybody needs to do their own thing. I just want to share with you a little bit my thought process, really. So at the moment, no reason to panic. It will definitely be a very, very exciting week. Looking at Cardano finally moving up a little bit as well. I need to go to the daily chart here on the Cardano chart, or maybe even the 1 hour chart. That might be more interesting. And Cardano also in line with expectations, climbing higher here. We talked about here after the breakout of that triangle about potentially rising prices, especially if the breakout is to the upside. That a level of 130 is a technical target of this triangle. Now, since then, we've seen the price climbing up. But to be fair, also for Cardano, this all looks still very, very much corrective. Like in my view, the Bitcoin move does. And yeah, here we haven't reached the 130 yet. We've been at 121. Did say in the previous video that I did that, yeah, looking at the indicators and where they actually are, for example, the 4-hour RSI, that it might struggle to get to 130, given that the 50-day moving average is still a very important resistance level, and the RSI is already fairly high, you know, and the price is clearly struggling a bit. And we can see that just by looking at these fairly strong retracements that we're seeing here on the way up. It even broke that down, the uptrending line for a little while. And even now you see another red candle here that's pushing the price down towards that trend line. On the daily chart, yeah, the price is not overbought yet. So there is certainly more room for further growth here. But the challenge will be here that 50-day moving average at 124, 125. Overall, as I said before, the Cardano price, I wouldn't talk about a sustainable breakout until we've seen a level above the previous highs here. So that 160 level, certainly a little bit higher than that, probably rather 165, these previous highs here. Until we get above them, you know, it's still very much a downtrend, isn't it? We've made lower lows here throughout, you can see that. And even here, we didn't really make a higher high. It was only like a double, basically a double top, you could call it, even though we are in downtrend. It's not really a double top, but you know what I mean. It failed to make a new high. And what I did tell you in one of the last videos was that, yeah, we could here for Cardano, as you can see on the chart indicated, already have seen the wave 4, yeah, and that we are already here in a wave 5. So being in the wave 5 would make sense, given that Cardano is generally further ahead than Bitcoin in the correction. You know, it started earlier. With Bitcoin, what you can see here, you know, what we are seeing here could be what we have actually seen for Cardano here. Yeah, so it's just something that Bitcoin might be just a bit later, which it generally is. You know, it started later with the correction than Cardano as well, and we could then see the beginning of that wave 5, you know, soon, fairly soon. That's still what I have to expect here with Bitcoin, and Cardano could already be in this wave 5. And I did talk about that in one of the previous videos, that we can possibly expect here that this year of the wave 5 was already a wave 1. Now you're seeing that wave 2. Then you could see a wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5, and that could all be part. That could all be part of that 5-wave structure here in blue. Yeah, so you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in some way. You know, of course, like that, something like that. Could stay within the channel. You know, you've got this descending channel here. So at no point Cardano did break out of this channel here yet. So yeah, I think we are here still in a downtrend, and that is pretty much the case for Bitcoin as well. Even though Bitcoin looks very, very nice at the moment, but bear in mind, Cardano did the same, yeah, when we were starting to move up here in this wave 4. If it was a wave 4, I think it was, from what I can see here now. And yeah, so there is also nothing stopping, even though we broke that descending trend line, there is nothing stopping Bitcoin here, if it moves a bit higher, to form something like a new trend line. You could get something like that. If I delete the fibs. So new trend lines always come up from time to time, so you could get something, you know, maybe like that. You know, you can see that trend line here. So let me take the previous one out. You could get something where you've got various touch points here. Was this a touch point? Yeah, close enough. So where you could possibly struggle to get through here now, depending on what the daily candle does. But just want to communicate, you know, there's an array of different trend lines that could be forming here. They shape, they reshape, you know, and you could get something more like that, where you then stay in this sort of channel here. You know, it's something just to be aware of, that these channels and shapes, they can change, and they form and reform, you know, and they adjust. So just because a descending trend line is broken, it's one indication, but it's only one indication. So, you know, it's always important to see the bigger picture as well. And at the moment, from what I can see here now, especially on the daily, we are getting close to overbought now, and we're getting close to that higher level of this target area that we talked about. I mean, so far it's all working out, you know, it's just moving within what the market can do in this scenario. And as I said, we are going to talk about different scenarios in more detail if one scenario is invalidated or gets far less likely. And but for me, there is still in any other scenario that I could imagine here, at least with the most likelihood, these scenarios, there will be another dip coming. So I'm gonna hold some money aside definitely for another dip, irrespective of if we're going to go down straight away, which is still what I do expect at the latest from 46.5K, or if we move a little bit higher, yeah, and it could actually be quite a bit higher before we then come down, okay? As I said before, hopefully it doesn't take too long, because I don't want to get a massive extension of this cycle here. So it would be great if we just go down straight away and finish the correction off, and then we could reset all the indicators. You know, we still have here printed on the monthly that bearish MACD. That still gives me reason for concern. It scares me, to be honest, because this is a very, very strong bearish thing here. You know, the MACD on the monthly is very high anyway, and it's time to get this indicator resetted. Yeah, to reset it basically. Yeah, and so far also here on the weekly is still pointing to the downside. Yes, recovering a little bit. To be fair, we have quite an interesting move up at the moment, but if you look at that, but then on the daily you are already nearly overbought, so you'll come down there as well at some point here shortly. Yeah, there isn't much more room to go higher. So this is exactly what happened down here. We were just massively oversold, and you have to have that counter reaction, which we're seeing now. It's normal. All right, so hopefully you liked the update about Bitcoin and Cardano. If you did, please smash the like button and subscribe. And if you really like the content, as always, then maybe consider to join as a channel member. You can do that on my website, and you can do that on YouTube. And for both, you can find a link in the description. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.